This is a figure that belongs to the garbage bin, not even the recycle bin, because I don't think this is recyclable. I know this is harsh, but I'm comparing it to price figures and this is even worse than that. Hi and welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven from elCoco Studio. Today with a scale figure review. Yes, this is apparently a scale figure. I wasn't sure whether to call her a price figure or a scale figure, but this is actually a scale figure because of two things. Number one, she actually has a scale 1/7, and number two, this is technically not a price figure because this is not something that you can win from a game at the crane toy machine. 500 yen in, and then if you are really good with the game at the machine, you can grab one for maybe 500 yen. This is not one of those figures. You have to pre-order it or purchase it from a figure store. So this is elCoco's 1/7 scale Tokisaki Kurumi from Dead Alive, a very popular game as well as anime series. 5 seasons by now, I think, and maybe season 6 is in the making. And this scale figure is special for being extremely affordable, 3,000 yen. I got mine for like 2,500 yen equivalent. Yes, very affordable. So even though this is a scale figure on paper, we are getting price figure prices, so you should expect price figure quality, right? If I were to compare this Kurumi figure over here to some slightly better than average price figures out there by Taito or even Full Real, by Cute Bunnies, this is worse. But before I address the quality control issues associated with this brand over here, let me mention a few things first. Number one is the height of the figure, including the base all the way to the top of her left arm over here, a little bit more than 26 centimeters, or at least that is what I got from measuring the figure myself. But officially on paper, elCoco quoted this figure as 24 centimeters. So there is quite a major difference over there. At the same time, I have no idea if this number provided by the manufacturer is including the base or not. But the base is roughly 1 centimeters. So where is that additional 1 cm coming from? Not that it is a problem. The bigger, the taller, the better it is. The next thing would be the release date being in February earlier this year, 21st February 2025. So this is a fairly recent release, I would say, 6 months ago. Still a very new figure. So in case you guys are unaware of, elCoco is like a budget branch of Design Coco, a brand that actually makes very good scale figures for a very reasonable price. I think the most memorable one, at least to me, is their Senbon Zakura Hatsune Miku. That thing was less than 15,000 yen officially. By now, maybe the price has gone up, but that was a pretty good scale figure for under 15,000 yen before any taxes or shipping. Now, a quick mention about the box over here. So this is what the box looks like. You may have seen it in my previous anime figure haul video. This is pretty much price figure packaging, true and true. And there was a minor damage. I consider this to be minor damage on the box when the figure arrived, but not the kind of damage that I would consider sufficient to affect the figure in terms of inflicting direct damage. But this figure did arrive damaged. Her left twin tail arrived broken straight out of the box, and I managed to super glue it back, as you can see over here. Somehow the part where I glued the figure is showing some cracks again. It is like it might fall off within the next few days, I don't know. So I'm unwilling to put in a lot of effort in fixing this broken figure over here. But based on the feedback I got from a few of you who have purchased this figure earlier than I did, some of you had it even worse. There was even one guy, I believe, in my Discord server saying that your elCoco Kurumi figure broke into 2 halves at the waist region, though I'm unsure if it is upper waist over here or lower waist, which are most likely separate parts. Yeah, there are people receiving this figure broken in 2 halves. But This part over here, fracturing, is a lot easier to repair because you have a lot of surface area to work with. Now moving on to the sculpt, the paintwork, everything about the quality of this figure, this is where the horror begins. So I went in with very low expectations, especially after seeing the packaging and unboxing the figure. What I got was even worse than some better priced figures today in year 2025. But let's move on to the good news first. The good news is that this figure, the sculpting department is fairly decent. Like the curves on her body, they are excellent. It feels like this figure has a lot of potential, only for elCoco to ruin it with their rushed paintwork, which I'll address in a second. The sculpting department is solid. Yes, excellent even. And if we take a look at her face, I think this is the main saving grace of this figure because her face is pretty accurate compared to the official product pictures provided by elCoco. It really does look like Kurumi, no problems over there. Her face is easily a 7.5 out of 10. And the rest of the body, the rest of the figure, I would give it maybe a 6 out of 10. Speaking of my 6 out of 10 score for the sculpt of this figure, the main problem over here is mold lines. I would say I expected it because my expectation was price figure level. You can see mold lines everywhere on this figure, along her legs, along her arms, along the side of her body, on her hair as well, and this is the worst part. You get mold lines in front, not on the side, in front of the hair over here. Yeah, somewhere around this region. So that is not nice, but I was still able to accept that given the low price point of this figure. There are price figures out there with better mold line management. Taito's best price figures like the T-Most and AMP Plus are great examples. I've reviewed a few. Even Full-Wheel Bi-Cute Bunny Girls, they are also better in this regard. So this is not a great look for what is supposed to be a proper scale figure. And then if we move on to the paintwork, things get even worse because every single quality control issue you can think of, elCoco managed to tick every box. Paint scratch over here on her left twin tail, a pretty obvious one. Paint scratch on her red ribbon on her chest, also quite obvious if you pay attention, exactly in the center, in the middle. Paint scratch again on the back of her blue skirt over here. Some of the blue paint is rubbing off. We also have really bad paint bleeding on the side of the figure. The blue color lines over there, they are bleeding over into her skin region. We also have badly painted white lines on her skirt, very badly painted. Some price figures manage better than this. And what else do we have over here? Oh boy, a bunch of paint transfer blue color spots all over her skin. You can see it on her waist, on her back, and even on her entire left leg. Blue color spots everywhere. Though this is something you might be able to remove with Mr. Hobby's leveling thinner and a cotton bud, but do it with extra care. At the same time, this is a low budget scale figure or price figure even that I can't be bothered to do that. And then there is the broken twin tail. That is a long list of quality control issues and pretty obvious ones as well for scale figure by a brand which I think by now, at this point in this review, I can even go ahead and say that this is the worst low budget scale figure I have ever purchased. Full stop. I know that I loved complaining about pop-up parades by Good Smile, but this one managed to make it even worse than pop-up parades. I'm not even kidding over here. Yeah, this is pretty bad. So the sad part, the unfortunate part over here is that this figure had so much potential with the sculpt department and the face being done so right, only for elCoco to botch the paintwork so badly in an attempt to give us extra detail, because there is a lot of shading in the paintwork of this figure. If you paid attention to her swimsuit, no matter where you look, but especially around the frilly parts over here on the skirt, the color gradient, the shading on the blue paint is very nice. And even if you pay attention to her waist region, her skin region over here, the muscle lines, and even the tip of her fingers, you can see pink color shading over the skin color paintwork. They look great. But they just had to screw up in so many places, which makes this figure look pretty bad, even though she could look a lot better. And the worst part is the way they did the shading on this translucent piece around her skirt over here. I'm not quite sure what they are trying to achieve over here, but that blob of blue paint they just randomly sprayed on this part was completely unnecessary. I would rather prefer if this entire piece over here is just transparent with no blue paint of any kind. That would make the figure look better, because the way they did the shading over here, it almost looks like someone just sprayed some blue paint over the figure without using any masking tape at all. Yeah, it looks like paint bleeding over or being accidentally sprayed on a surface that shouldn't have the blue paint rather than proper weathering, if that makes any sense. And lastly, the base over here, this is similar to the older pop-up rate figures, the hexagonal bases they used to get. But the choice of material over here is a bit better. The plastic is thicker and the base feels heavy. So there is some additional weight and support to the figure. But the figure will still wobble quite a bit if shaken, because only one leg is plugged into the base. You do get two very thick plastic foot pegs, which are very unlikely to break, which is good news, I suppose. But in the end, when I look at this entire figure over here, it feels like I'm looking at something that feels low effort. It feels like elCoco is treating low-budget figure collectors like a joke or something. Yes, nowadays figures are getting very expensive, and because of that, low-budget scale figures are becoming quite high in demand. You look at the Chinese brands, they are doing really well with their low budget figures at roughly 6,000 to 12,000 yen, and they gave us figures with none of the issues over here. Granted, those are more expensive, at least 6,000 yen and up, but I am not going to compare these to Chinese low budget figures, which are still more expensive than this thing. I am going to compare her to any existing price figures that is not a Bandai or a Banpresto, because Bandai price figures are kind of garbage. But let's compare this to a full wheel Baikyu Tsubani, like I mentioned earlier, or a Taito Core Full. Not Taito AMP Plus, not Taito T-Most, Marin Kitagawa's, those are the absolute best. Compare it to an average Taito Core Full price figure, and this is a lot worse, because many of the paint issues over here, especially the paint transfer all over her skin, on her torso, on her leg, those are the kind of things you don't see on Taito or full wheel price figures. So I'm not sure what elCoco, or in this case Design Coco, is trying to achieve over here. I get that you're trying to target a larger customer base, trying to go for every price point, but this is too low of a bar. So this is hands down the worst scale figure I have ever purchased, not just in year 2025, perhaps in the last few years. This is the absolute worst. Yeah. So can I recommend it? The obvious answer is no. And even if it is only 2,000 yen, 2,500 yen, I would still say go and buy a price figure over this thing. And that is how harsh I'm being towards this figure over here. That is not how things should be done. This is the definition of plastic waste. Yeah. So until then, I hope that you found this review helpful. And stay away from her. This is the first figure this year that is a flat out no from me in terms of whether I would recommend it or not, regardless of price point. And until then, if you found this review helpful, please do give this video a like and subscribe to this channel for more anime figure content every week. Until then, thanks for watching and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.